Welcome to the podcast dedicated to making you a faster cyclist, the Ask a Cycling Coach podcast. We have head coach Chad Timmerman here.
Hey, everybody.
And Jonathan Lee.
I'm ready for some hot takes. Let's do it.
And me, I'm Ivy. We're doing hot takes. Okay, let's get into it. First one, I'm not unfit in the winter. The air is just heavier. Cold air is technically more dense. What do you think, John?
Chad's biting his lip already because he has something to say on this.
I don't think it is. I think if we're going to be technical about it, I think warm air has a greater propensity to carry moisture. I think that's how it works, right? The interplay between temperature and relative humidity means that warm air carries more moisture and thus would be denser for...
I think so. Cold air by nature is denser. Oh boy. We are lighting people
I Googled it
right now. They're like physics people right now. Cold air is denser, and warm air.
What is denser? Carrying more moisture? Is that what you mean by denser? Because it doesn't. The partial pressure doesn't change just because of the temperature.
I think it does have to do with pressure. I'm not sure. Oh boy, somebody listening to this right now, some like engine nerd is just screaming at us.
Let's turn that over to the people who actually know.
You idiots! But no, cold air is denser. I'm certain of it because
it's drier.
I'm going to share a cycling example with this.
Yeah, but this
Bradley
is
Wiggins was in. No, this has to do with physics. As far as what the physics are, I have no clue. We'll leave that up to you. People can come at us at TrainerRoad.com/podcast, submit their questions there. But Bradley Wiggins, during an hour record attempt, the temperature was like 3 degrees warmer than they anticipated in the velodrome. Or sorry, colder than they anticipated in the velodrome.
Was it colder or warmer? I thought it was warmer, and that's what slowed him down.
Oh boy, Chad. I feel like we need to research this live.
Pretty sure it was warmer, and thus the air was denser, and thus he was slower.
Ivy, you said you Googled this.
I just Googled, is cold air dense? And it said yes.
Someone on their blog said yes.
Yeah.
And that was it.
So in a former life, I was going to be in some sort of medical practice. I wasn't sure what. And so as a prerequisite for that, there were heaps and heaps of science classes that led into that. And it's like as soon as I decided I didn't want to do that, and there were like physics courses in that as well. And as soon as I decided I was out, it was like flushing a toilet. I don't remember any of that information.
Purge.
For real, I can't. Yeah. Like I had to make space for memes and tire pressure, things to remember. So I don't remember any
race
of that.
Tactics. Yeah.
Yep.
So more moisture in the air, I would think, would cause more drag. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I think that colder air has a greater propensity that warmer air has a greater propensity to carry that. I could be wrong there, but I am nearly certain, Chad, that they brought in more people to the velodrome intentionally than they had planned to try to warm it up so then it could go faster because it was colder than they anticipated.
It rings a bell, but I think I'm right.
I like that. This is hot takes. This is not us having done the research.
Exactly. I intentionally didn't do research because these are hot takes.
Yeah.
So for the sake of the hot take, can we agree that riding outside when it's cold makes you feel less fit or slower? I know it does for me.
I don't know.
Let's just blame it on cold, dry air and just the general miserableness of being cold.
I feel like this is going for a pat on the back here, where it's like, I'm not unfit. The air's just heavier. and like, come on, your fitness has no bearing on the air temperature and vice versa. So the fitness is what it is. Sorry to be the wet blanket here, but that's what I would say. But I'm going to take a hard stance, a hill upon which I will die, and I will say that cold air is slower than warm air. And now I've triggered lots of engineers. Chad and I can
let's
have
see.
a battle on this.
I'm interested. So. See what they come back with.
Yeah, let us know. Scientists, let us know in the comments.
And we just got a lot of mileage out of something we don't have.
Yeah, I did research.
Yes, quotes. Yeah.
Okay. Next one. Negative racing is just as sound of a strategy as attacking all the time. This one's interesting because I think following moves and having to be reactive or defensive in a race is smart racing most of the time, and it's only seen as negative racing by racers that want you to do the work for them, want you to race like an idiot. What do you think, Chad?
I think that's a fair assessment. You employ the strategy that's going to work on the day. I mean, if you're out there with stronger riders, you're not going to be attacking off. Well, maybe you are. I guess that's an employable strategy too. If you think you're going to take the fight to them and maybe get lucky in the process and get away and beat some faster riders, but you play the cards you dealt, and if those cards are not great fitness during that, whenever that may be, then I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with negative racing.
No, and the cards might be being outnumbered, like by a team, or being outnumbered in a break by a team, or being a solo rider with no teammates. I don't know, John. What's your experience in this?
It's all contextual, right? Like you said, Ivy. Like the polarity of the racing is in the eye of the beholder. So, like, whether it's negative or positive, like it's real positive for the person that's doing the negative racing. It's all relative there. But I just like attacking all the time is only a sound strategy if in two situations. Number one, you're so much faster than the field that you can race recklessly and it's fine. And what I mean by recklessly isn't like dangerously, but recklessly in terms of just like
energy expenditure.
Yeah, energy expenditure. And then the other situation is if your actual task with your team is to go out there and to try to draw people out with your attacks or soften up the field or do something like that. That's the only time in my mind that those two times are when attacking is all the time is good.
Or perhaps in the interest of making it entertaining. I've seen that a lot. Too. There's some riders who just like to animate. They throw strategy and their likelihood of actually winning aside, and they just go out there and they make it interesting.
Yeah, that too. Which in that case, if you can identify who those riders are, you can just be like, "Go ahead, buddy, knock yourself out."
He would do that at I think it was Boise Twilight every year. He loved that race, and he would always. I think I remember this correctly, but just was like, "I'm just gonna take a flyer," and I was like, "Yeah, that's the whole goal," and he's like, "Yep."
Yeah. He's like, I ain't gonna win, but I want to, make it fun. That race is fun too. The crowd's really good. You're racing right by the crowd. It's like in the downtown area. It's a cool race. So I can understand that. Yeah. I have a propensity to want to attack all the time.
It is way more fun if you have the fitness to back it up.
It is, and look, there's always the race. So there's two things that happen. You attack all the time. And there's like two different effects in the field. Either somebody, it really does damage them, and it's tough for them to be able to respond in the way or execute the race plan that they had planned out. But then there's also the athlete that it was not tough for them. And because of that, they then overlap. Like I'm thinking of Nate right now. Nate then says, you didn't tire a single person out in the field. All you did, you just kept attacking. And it's like, you weren't tired, but don't mirror your experience on the rest of the field, right? Mm-hmm. Like, just because your experience is one thing doesn't mean it's that experience for everybody. For some athletes, surging power, even if it's not excessively hard, is just it's the straw that breaks the camel's back because they're not particularly good at hitting and recovering. They haven't been doing that sort of training. And for some athletes too, they might have this really everything has to go right for this race plan. And when you insert any sort of level of chaos into that, their fragile plan develops cracks, and then they aren't able to execute like they had planned to. Even if it doesn't feel hard, it's just they don't have the gas to do that really big, break that they were planning on doing, or that, 5 to go sort of move that they're trying to hold together. So it's, it's not quite just fully black and white. There's some gray area between there, I guess, when it can be helpful.
And it can draw out something productive too, because if you're a relentless attacker and the riders who are capable of actually winning the race, making moves that do matter, we'll see this person is relentlessly attacking. They have the capability to go again and again and again. I'm going to springboard off of that. Or maybe I'm going to, ride away with them because they're obviously in pretty good shape. So maybe we can make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
I mean, looking at the hot take itself, negative racing is an absolutely sound strategy, especially when you're the person that's doing it, because it's quite productive at managing the race. And attacking all the time can also be a sound strategy. I would say that negative racing is more likely to be a more sound strategy than just attacking all the time. Attacking all the time seems to have a bit more risk involved, but I don't know. Yeah, I get really upset when people say, oh, the racing was so negative. There's no rule blocking anybody from doing negative racing.
What?
You know,
Just it's negative is in fact a negative connotation. I mean, why not call it responsive? You know, you respond or reactive.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's, and if somebody is doing that to you in a race, you can't get upset at them. Like you have no grounds to get upset at them. If somebody's doing something dangerous to you, sure, I get it. But outside of that, you have no reason ever to be like justified in being angry at somebody like that.
Because you
sit
could
on
be
your
racing
wheel.
that way too.
Exactly. Why don't you do it to them?
Yeah.
I think this might be a recurrent theme today. You know, you race your race, I'll race mine. You know, you worry about you, I'll worry about me.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's the way to do it. And boy, doesn't that help too, Chad? Like you see, like if you're hot-headed in a race, I'm sure you've seen this, IV racing in the professional ranks and everything else. When you're hot-headed, like I don't care how fit you are, you just really, you know, you just throw a wrench in your own spokes.
Yep. How often do you let your own strategy fall apart because you're focusing on how the person you think will win is racing, and just fixating on it and letting yourself think that it's negative or getting mad about it? You just got to do you.
For sure. Yeah. Well said.
Good. Glad we agree. If that's negative racing, I'm negative Nancy. I'm here for it. Love it.
It needs to be rebranded. It's not the right word.
Branding problems.
What did you say? Responsible racing.
No, responsive or reactive.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like responsible. I'm being safe.
I mean, while we're rebranding, we can take any liberties we want, I guess. Amazing racing. Yeah.
Sponsored by the Fructose Experience. Okay. Next one. Long indoor Z2 is zone 2 is like therapy. John, how do you feel about endurance pace zone 2?
Yeah, I mean, indoor or outdoor. Look, it's, oh boy, this one triggers me. Because like there's this assumption that Z2 is easy, and that it's just, and first of all, there's also this assumption that like Z2 is just riding however I want to ride. And I'll say I'm going up for a Z2 ride, and then I just blow it up with some sort of weird KOM effort, or I coast, or I just don't ride hard at all. And you're not riding in Z2, you're riding in Z1. Like Z2 is not the bottom of the floor. And phone me when you get 3 hours into holding Z2 without taking a break, and let me know. We're
talking about indoor Z2 here.
That is.
So
yeah.
This is something very different than outdoor Z2.
And even then, let's say you can ride outdoors and you don't have, because let's be real, ideal, you don't have to take breaks. You don't have to adjust things. Like you can actually hold the power that you're prescribed to hold. So indoor or outdoor, you know, follow up with me and tell me how therapeutic everything feels and how nice it is when you're 3 hours into it, because it's not. It's hard, and it should be hard. There's a huge misnomer out there that Z2 is just easy. It doesn't feel hard in the beginning, but if you're holding it with diligence, like a coach would really want you to hold, because they're trying to get after changes that happen, cumulative changes that happen in your body, or I should say changes that happen after cumulative time spent in that effort without taking a coffee break, without doing that sort of stuff. That comes with discomfort. Like it's intentional. That's what training is. So look, like for me, no, it's not, I don't know. It's not therapeutic, but in general, I also think people are using it too wrong. So.
But we're not asking for comfortable here. We're asking for therapeutic. And I do think that something that's steady and requires a bit of focus, but doesn't capture all of your focus. So you can do other things. Read, for instance, listen to music, watch whatever you're watching on Netflix right now. And to me, that is therapeutic, to the point where I actually look forward to the days where I know I'm just going to get on the bike. And right now, long, it's always relative, right? Right now, long for me for a Z2 ride is 90 minutes. I'm not doing these 4 and 5 hour workouts that I devised and just almost wishing that no one was actually going to do them, because that's a long time for really steady, low intensity, but very steady, unrelenting stress. But I do think there is a therapeutic aspect to it. Maybe, to your point, Jonathan, toward the end of it, it becomes less therapeutic and a little more uncomfortable, and that's maybe where you should cut it off if therapy is indeed what you're after. But if you're also looking to combine your therapy with a little bit of adaptation, productive adaptation, well, you have to take the good with the bad, the tough with the easy.
I wonder if the athlete that submitted this is really hitting zone 2, or if they're just super chilling in zone 1, you know, watching Netflix.
Zone 2 is a big zone too. I mean, there's a big difference between riding at 56%, 75%.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true.
Totally different. Again, it's like a branding issue. I think like Z2 has this like very generous brand that's been applied to it across the board, and
I agree.
And it isn't strict. It isn't like actually beholden to the definition of what it is. Part of it too is like therapy. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what I find therapeutic about cycling in general. Like, for me, it's like checking a box and getting something done and moving toward a goal. That part, yes, is emotionally beneficial and psychologically beneficial for me. Riding on a really good road, like awesome, cool turns on a mountain descent or something, or above all, riding mountain bikes on good trails. Yes, that part fills my cup. But, a zone doesn't fill my cup more than another. It's just me checking a box. That's me personally. I'm not saying that anybody else should feel that way, but
no, it makes sense. I would change this hot take myself for that. Just riding bike is like therapy in that regard. And yeah, John, we were talking about this the other day about training. If it fills your cup or empties your cup, and if it fills your cup, then all of it's beneficial in some way, right? Regardless of what zone it's in or what your objective is on the day for riding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about you, Chad?
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. The higher the intensity, the more fatiguing the work, the less. Now, even then, it's probably therapeutic on a pretty high level. So, yeah, riding your bike's therapeutic. I think it's easier for me to get in touch with therapeutic aspects of it if I'm not burying myself. So, which is why I think this statement is a fair one. Keeping it Z2 and low end of Z2 for me would be, and it was yesterday, therapeutic.
Oh, yeah. Good.
I think one aspect with this though is don't replace therapy with your bike. Then
I was just wondering how to say that without like being annoying.
Because then suddenly like your bike now is in a leveraged position where it needs to deliver something for you. And then if it's something that was giving you benefit, then now you're in a situation where if your bike doesn't give you benefit, suddenly you're upset at cycling. Don't do that. Let it be its own thing. Let it decide its moral value separately from this.
Yeah. Right. Or if there's a day or a circumstance in which you don't get to be on the bike or exercise, then you're suddenly void of that and can't cope and become unhinged. That's not good.
Yeah.
Points.
Take it from me, an absolutely not licensed in any way therapist. So, probably shouldn't be advising on this sort of stuff.
No, it's all right. Everyone John basically is when I'm like, hey man, can you get on a Zoom right now real quick, please? We appreciate you, John. All right, next one. Is the move by Ironman to split the Ironman World Championship a money grab? I'd asked John about this because I didn't know what this meant. Or is it a legitimate good move for athletes? So, John, can you tell us what's going on with Ironman World Championship, what the split means?
Yeah. So Ironman, or full distance Ironman World Championships, has historically been in Kona. We've done podcasts from this. Search through our podcast catalog for this to find episodes where we've interviewed these athletes that have qualified for world championships and gotten there. And we talk to them about how they did it and how they use TrainerRoad to do it. It's really cool. Check it all out. Anyways, it's a historic course. Like, it's the pinnacle of Ironman courses. It's known for being really difficult and, not only physically, but also psychologically as well. It's a tricky one. Chad and I have ridden the bike course before, and we can attest to how psychologically difficult that course is to even ride, let alone to race. And then Chad and I had to go down in an air conditioned car and stand outside of it for 30 minutes and clap for people next to the run course. And we were exhausted. So, I don't know.
It was a hard day.
Hard day. I sweat, actually. There was sweat coming off me. It was bad. So, all jokes aside, it's very hard, and it's the pinnacle, and it's what athletes have reached for. And when you qualify for Ironman World Championships, it was synonymous with, I'm going to Kona, and this is so cool because it's the peak of the peak. Last year they had and they've always done the men's and women's races at the same time. And as a result, you always got split coverage between the two races, but being honest, the actual coverage was very heavily weighted toward the men's race. And every once in a while I'd check back in on the women's race because the men's race would start and they would kind of start with that narrative and they would just view the women's race as kind of let's go back to this every once in a while. And that was always unfortunate. And last year they split it up. And the reason that they did that is because they had all these COVID qualifications that had deferred. So they had a way bigger field than they typically have, and they couldn't have that many athletes out on course at the same time. So they split it into 2 days with a 1 day gap in between. So they did the women's race, a gap, then the men's race. It was really cool to watch the women's race separately from the men's race. And I feel like that is merited. I mean, we're talking a world championship. They should show the races separately. However, I can also understand the people that live there on the island and everything else. They did not like having everything altered to that degree for that long. And I understand that. So now what they're doing is they're making it so that it's going to alternate every year. You are either the World Championships are either going to be in Kona or they'll be in Nice in France, and they will switch. So this year, the women are racing in Kona in 2023, and the men are racing in Nice. And then the next year it will switch, and it will just go back and forth. That applies to pros and age group. A lot of people are really upset about this because it removed Kona from like this world championship experience. And I totally understand it. I would not want to go race in Nice. It's a very different course. It's known for being more hilly, totally different. And I know a lot of athletes are really upset about it. And then they're all pointing to the fact that like Ironman's just doing this to get more people to be able to race a world championship, and then they can like make more money. And I don't think that's the case. I think this is just Ironman making a really positive move of trying to show both races here, both world championship events. And they're trying to accommodate that, but they're also trying to be, they are being respectful of the needs of the people on that island in Hawaii. And I'm really grateful that they are doing that. So I think that's what it is. And I think that there's maybe a lack of tin hat here, but I don't think there's any conspiracy to the whole thing. So, But if I ever qualified for Ironman World Championships, I would want to do it on a Kona year. I definitely wouldn't want to do it on a Nice year, even though I bet the Nice course would be like better for me if I could even do that sort of distance. But still, there's just something special about Kona, you know? Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Chad, anything to contribute? I don't know anything about triathlons.
To me, this is undeniably a move in the right direction, if for no other reason than it separates the men and women's races, because Jonathan's assessment's fair, and it may not have been intentional, but the coverage was absolutely lopsided. Definitely favored the men, and it may not have been specifically aimed at favoring the men so much as the racers who started first. I mean, if nothing else, they could have in years past slotted the women first and let the men go second and alternated that on an annual basis. I think that would have been an early move that they could have very easily done. But now they're taking it to greater extremes, separating it by a day, keeping it in Kona, and now bringing half of it to Nice and leaving the other half in Kona, and then alternating fairly. Although it does become a bit difficult if you happen to qualify on a year that favors the course that doesn't favor you. That's too bad, is what it is, though. And I'm having a hard time understanding how exactly it would be cash grabby in that are they opening up the number of entrants? Because it seems like it's pretty capped as it is.
So. I believe that they're going to be able to have more people. If you look at the overall number of athletes that will qualify for a world championship, and when you qualify for world championships, you still have to pay your entry fee. They're not small entry fees, right? You still have to do all that. So I think that there are more cumulative athletes as a result of splitting them up. But
even then, it's twice the expense for Ironman. So, I mean, if it's highly profitable and they're making it 2 races, it seems to me it's going to cut that profitability in half. I mean, it's relative to each of these 2 events. So it's more money that they have to lay out, maybe more money that they recoup, but it does not smack of a cash grab, not to me.
Yeah, agreed. I really think the more hot take in triathlon, especially in Ironman long course stuff, is they really just need to get rid of the drafting rules in my mind and let people draft. If people are worried about safety, well, people figure it out. Like when you get too close and you crash and you make a mistake and you learn. And like, yeah, the consequences are high. Welcome to bike riding.
Yeah, I think that's too big a paradigm shift, though. I love the idea, but that'd be massive.
It'd be a huge shift, but man, and there's this whole like narrative out there that like, well, then people will just like ride together and ride super easy. And then like they'll run really fast. I'm like, well, heaven forbid we have a really exciting run instead of people separated by a bunch. And then number 2, if that was the case, wouldn't we just see that in every cycling event? Like we don't see that. Then the reason that we don't see that is because people see opportunities and they take opportunities, and that will happen whether you draft or not.
It's a competitive spirit. They're driven to it. There's no avoiding it.
I want to see.
It would only make the racing better, in my opinion,
Yeah, I want to see a group of triathletes in aero bars, and like a group of 5 or 6, and like somebody attacks a group.
Yeah.
In there. Yeah.
Well, like if you go to the shootout in Tucson, you'll see like, we have Hoffman there. Sam Long sometimes shows up too, and they're on their TT bikes. And what they do is when they're not behind somebody, they're not in their aero bars, unless it's like somebody that they really trust or something else like that. They'll move out of them. And then when they move to the front, they're in their aero bars. You know what it does is it makes that race that group ride super exciting and fun, because you have really high speed at the front, way higher than you would have otherwise, kind of mixes things up. They're safe too. They might leave a little bit of extra space. They know what they're doing. So I don't know. I think we're also forgetting that, like, I know age groupers would mess up, but we let random people race criteriums on sketchy courses all the time.
That's
so
true.
I think that we can also let random people race triathlon and draft. And when they make mistakes, they'll make mistakes and it'll hurt other people. Yes, that's bikes. Like that happens. But I guarantee you, they will learn. like that's what we do.
It's Ironman World Championships too. So this definitely reduces the burden on all the European athletes who don't have to come all the way over across the United States, way over to Hawaii. I can't even imagine which way is quicker, but that's a lot of travel, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So this, and it gives Americans an opportunity to travel to France, to travel to Europe. That's yet another win. It sounds like a brag, but I qualified for duathlon world championships way back in, I think it was year 2000 in the masters category, I believe. Doesn't matter. Didn't go. And it was in Calais, France. And that it haunts me. I pass up. Well, I didn't pass up. I didn't have the funds to do it and I wasn't sponsored. Yeah. So I didn't go. But man, I could have had a memory of doing a triathlon or a duathlon in Calais, France that isn't tucked in there now. I can only imagine it. Cool.
Yeah, and it's also worth stating that I feel like everybody that I've seen away from drafting and into the world championship thing, like Chad said, it's every pro that I've seen that's upset about this move is that they're good in the heat and they've done well at Kona before. Everybody that I see that's excited about this move, that's a pro athlete at least, they've never done well at Kona and they always struggle in the heat or something like that. So it's like, hey, like it gives people chances, like in the end, like, you know what, and go for it. And yeah, that travel is that's got to be brutal from Europe all the way, or just from any spot. You know, it's hard to get to Hawaii. So I can understand that too.
Another potential level of excitement is you can target which location you want to qualify for. Mm-hmm. So you can say, "Oh man, I'd love to go to France. I'm not great this year, so I'm really going to target next year," or vice versa. I think I think it's just a win all across the board.
Chad, it's not too late for you. Chad's for
definitely
France
too late.
2024.
I was just going to say,
checked out.
This is the year probably to qualify for men's Ironman World Championships if there's ever a year. Because there's going to be a lot of pessimism about like going to Nice. So those roll downs are going to go deeper, I bet, than they typically do, because people are going to be like, nope, I don't want to go this year. I want to go next year.
Fair
I don't
point.
want to take a spot. And, Chad, this is your year. You could go to Nice.
As far as world championships, there's nothing in me that even kinda wants to experience them at Kona. So this does make it slightly more enticing, but not enough to make me get out there and start training for a marathon on top of everything else that goes with it.
I don't know how people do that, Chad. Like, how do people even finish that course?
I don't know how they train for it.
We rolled pace line, you, Nate, and I, on that course, and we were cooked at the end of it. Absolutely cooked. And then the run, I have so much respect for athletes that finish on that course. And Nice, I bet, with climbs and stuff too, is quite hard and very, I just don't have that point of reference to understand it. But all athletes that have done Kona, you're incredible. So
yeah,
mm-hmm.
Agreed. Couldn't be me.
Yeah.
All right. Next hot take: technical trails should not be made safe, even if they are dangerous. This one's interesting because this could apply to even based upon your ability level. Someone could think this about like a medium difficulty trail, right? With just like a small rock garden or like a small-ish drop. Those are dangerous trails to beginners. And a beginner might be frustrated that trail exists because it's dangerous. But then the next year, when they move up an ability level and the goalpost moves to what is difficult and dangerous, then they're riding that trail. And then, a trail with a bigger drop or like a gap is an actually dangerous trail. So it's hard to say like what should be made safe when the goalposts for difficulty level is so different for everyone. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I view a trail as being, quote, dangerous only when there is man-made intervention that it involves negligence. And what I mean by that is like a pole or a stake like left nearby on the trail or something. Otherwise, like the trail is what it is, and you need to assess your abilities to ride it or not. I'm 100% in agreement with this hot take. They shouldn't be modified. However, I do think that there should be choice and there should be opportunity for athletes of all ability levels. And I do think that lacks in a lot of areas.
You mean like a beeline for a really difficult feature or like a high risk feature, or just
different
like
trail? Like certain areas, like Moab's a good example of having like a lot of very much the same. Like I don't love Moab. It's just like, here's my hot take: Moab sucks for riding. Actually, like it's not my favorite place to go. It's just all kind of feels the same.
Oh my
It destroys your bike. It beats it up.
We're going to have trail bros in the comments, scientists in the comments. Like
I know. I don't like it. But the thing that's cool about Moab is that you drive just like 5 minutes or something, or you can pedal if you want, but 5 minutes up and out of town, you have the brand trails, and they're like, and then you have Mag 7 and all these other networks that are much more manageable. And that's what I'm getting at. You don't have to have a beeline for everything. I don't think beelines belong on a lot of trails, but instead, what you should just have is hopefully a rider that isn't capable of riding that at least has another trail to pick from in that general area that they can ride. Because we kind of suffer with that. We don't really have a lot of beginner trails here. Only recently we've gotten some beginner trails, and even then they're beginner-ish. They're not full-on beginner. So I think that would be great to see more beginner level trails for people, at least in the areas in which I regularly ride.
What do you think?
Yeah,
Jeff?
leave the trails alone. Let them be.
We're in disagreement on this because I think beelines and trail ratings are vital. I think it's very important, especially when people of differing abilities want to ride together. And I can sum it up with just Amara and me. When we go ride together, I'd like to do trickier terrain than she does. When we go ride with Pete and Emily, Pete likes to do trickier terrain than I do. Interestingly, and to me anyway, the danger is subjective, clearly. I mean, if your abilities are high, it has to be pretty dangerous to actually be dangerous. Low abilities, anything is dangerous. I mean, the simplest of rock gardens, just a hard turn on a blown out corner is dangerous. But I think of, and Jonathan will know the trail, it's Hippie Shack. I went on it early season with Pete. That was a dangerous trail for me. I went on it late season with Pete, and that was not a dangerous trail for me because my skills over the course of just a single season had come up to the point where, wow, this scared me last time. Just the name of it kind of raised my hackles a bit. And I was waiting for this one particular section that I just cleaned, and it was behind me before I even recognized, oh, that was it. That was where I struggled last time. So, I mean, any trail has the potential to be dangerous. The greater your skills are, the less fraught with danger they become.
Mm-hmm.
Good takeaway. Makes sense. The trail was either named something like Fluffy Bunny or like trail naming conventions are hilarious to me. Like it's either like fluffy
funny
and cute and secretly very dangerous, or
that's the problem there, though. The names can be a bit misleading.
Yeah. Also, I noticed something in British Columbia. They rate like a trail that's just gnarly, like descending, like it might be like a loop. And it has some brutal descending or like high technicality, and they're like, it's a blue.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't like go straight down and have cliffs. And then, but then in BC, if it has like a bit of climbing, they're like, it's a black. It's like, it's so hard to climb. Like when you go to like the Sea to Sky region, there's a bunch like in the Whistler Valley where you ride them and you're like, how is this not a black? And then you ride another one that's a black and you're like, how is this not a green? But separating climbing from descending would be really helpful on giving things ratings. You know, it's not like alpine skiing where you're just going down. So,
right. All right. Good stuff. Next one. After watching Call of a Lifetime, gravel racers need to care less about tradition and maintaining a pleasant emotional balance and care more about winning. This is a super hot take.
Gas on a fire hot.
Did you watch Call of a Lifetime? Either of you?
I watched it yesterday, all of it, all 6 episodes at 1.5 times speed, so I could only stay on the bike for 90 minutes. And I learned a lot. I now understand why people are asking the questions they ask. The whole spirit of gravel, we fielded that question a few times in a few different ways, and I just now understand where people are coming from. And then there was one other aspect of, attacking in feed zones. Again, we addressed that. I had no clue what we were talking about. You guys had to explain it to me, and now I get it. And it comes back to the same thing we touched on. Here's that first recurrence. Just race your race. Let others race theirs. The self-important, self-righteous few need to just shut their mouths and ride their bikes.
Yeah, this series triggered me. Like, first of all, how they portrayed Sophia. I've told you all that Sophia is fierce, and she is fierce. However, they really had like a narrative that they wanted to push. You can tell a whole lot was taken out of context with how they represented her. But hey, that's okay. Like, Sophia also wants to win, and she's going to try hard to win, and that's what she's about. So
that was a little hard to watch. That was pretty. They definitely tried to characterize her in a kind of a unfair manner. And quick question: what is this Vichafagne? Is that how you actually say it with an Argentine accent?
Yeah, Vichafagne. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I do wholeheartedly agree with this hot take. When you watch this, I feel like there's 2 people that look like they want to win, and it's Keegan and Sophia, and then the rest of them. Look, we all need to get bikes, or whatever we need to get out of riding bikes, but these like pro athletes, and this is like positioned as like a premier series, like. We've all, if you've seen Drive to Survive, the Formula One race, like imagine if Carlos Sainz is like, I'm just really concerned with like making sure that I maintain an emotional balance with my racing. Like people would be like, get out of the car. Like you're racing Formula One, you're racing something premier. This is like, and I know we all need to get whatever we need to. And I also applaud the cyclists for being vulnerable and being able to share what those sort of things are. But I feel like the way that the series portrayed everybody is that, well, because Sophia is serious, that's bad. And everybody else needs to be more just like balanced here. She's aggressive. She wants to win. And it like painted it in this like negative light. And it's like, that's what you should, we need to also like normalize being competitive and being just wanting to win. Like we're racing. That's what it's about. And I feel like they did not normalize, but they marginalized competitiveness. And it was really weird because I don't understand that. Like, it's your race series. You want like it to seem like a premier race series, not like a kumbaya. Like, what are you doing?
Right. And I understand needing to maintain an emotional balance in a race setting. I have to do that all the time. Like, I signed up for BWR Scottsdale in a couple weeks, and I'm not even doing the full waffle ride. I'm doing what's the next on the wafer, like an 80-mile ride. And it's still going to be hard. And I'm coming back from such a deficit that I'm really stressed out about it. And my goal is going to be to maintain a pleasant emotional balance. And like, so it's hard reading this hot take. It's hard for me because yes, I totally empathize with that goal. But the difference and distinction is I'm not applying to or trying to compete at the highest level of gravel racing.
That's it.
And
that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. And
it's a race series. You're being paid to race. What am I missing?
Yeah, that's what I felt like too. Yeah, like, I don't know. It's maybe it's a sign that, and boy, this is probably going to kick a hornet's nest with the pro athletes, so I apologize, but maybe it's a sign that it's not a premier series, right? And that like we need more people that are like, I want to win and I want to do everything that I can to win. And we need more people like that. And that's what makes it a premier series. I don't know. Maybe that's not it. Maybe I'm too hyper competitive. I mean, I am too hyper competitive, but
no,
I think the very competitive athletes were there, that this particular documentary's angle just took a different, they took a different approach. They focused on this aspect of the athletes when I don't think it's fair characterization of how most of these athletes are approaching these events.
Yeah. Agreed. And while I don't agree with the whole like take on, everybody needs to stop in feed zones and this, and different things that Pete Stetina was associated with as well. I know Pete, and I know Pete's a great guy. I just want to give a shout out to him because it is not being mentioned enough. Pete this year he had 2 infants in the NICU, like all throughout this whole entire season. And I didn't once hear him like say that as an excuse, or anything else like that. I can't imagine having to go through and do everything like, and also having that situation. So I think a lot of people, like I even saw on our forum, were giving Pete like a really hard time, when I think that you need to keep that grain of salt handy. He isn't asking for you to do that. It's just, I think, on us to kind of think of that. He's under a huge amount of stress. And like, I can't understand that amount of stress that he was under. Like, it was a truly tenuous situation for his children for a long time. And so pardon him if he reacted emotionally to different situations that maybe he didn't have a full understanding in the moment, like he kind of said. So
yeah,
it was an interesting series. So what's that?
He totally owned it too.
Yeah, he did. So anyways, I think that's like an interesting, it was an interesting series to see, but I do agree. It felt a little weird. I want it to feel more like racing. I want people to talk about like how much they want it, and they want to like really win. And I don't know. That's what I want.
Well, let's just get Keegan on the horn then when we want to hear about that.
He's tactful. I feel like how he explains what he externalizes. Yeah.
All right. Hot take: the whole scrape the mud thing with your pedal stroke is unnecessary. Pedal how you pedal. Chad, can you explain this scrape the mud technique or theory with your pedal stroke?
Yeah, when we break the pedal stroke down into quadrants, this would be the bottom quadrant. So when you're pulling, if you actively pull across the bottom from about 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, this would be where a lot of people will talk about, and I've talked about, it should feel like scraping mud off the bottom of your shoe. That idea. Activate the muscles that would allow you to do that while you're moving through this section of the pedal or segment of the pedal stroke. And unnecessary is absolutely arguable. That's why I never like discussions on pedal stroke, because there's such solid evidence on both sides of the discussion that it seldom goes anywhere productive. So some athletes pedal terribly, but they still make it work. Some athletes pedal gorgeously and they're not particularly fast. And then there's both opposite sides to both those coins. If you want to improve your pedal stroke, if you're not happy with it, there are ways to go about it. And scraping the mud and breaking it down into quadrants and doing speed drills and all the options are ways to go about improving it. And workouts can get a bit mundane, a bit monotonous, and this is yet another way to just shift your focus for brief periods of time. And again, I think it's a potentially productive way to shift your focus, but I don't think they're necessary. I don't think they're necessary for any rider. Can they be helpful for a lot of riders? I do think so.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add to that one. I agree with it. And sometimes I see athletes, actually, I do have one thing. Sometimes I see pro athletes and I look at them and I look at their pedal stroke and I'm like, wow, it seems super inefficient. But they still manage to like perform really, really well. So who am I to say that scraping the mud is what they need to do when they're out there performing so well,
Yep, agreed. Nailed it. Speaking of the pros, hot take: your bike fit should not look like the pros.
I think I'm being doxxed with this one because
what?
This is I saw this one come in. This is from my bike fitter.
No way.
And we just went to a longer and lower stem and everything. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe Drew, if this is how you want to, you can just tell me as well. If this is what you mean, like, you just shoot me a text.
Passive aggressive much?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, generally, I do agree with it. I do agree. I feel like I need to defend myself now. It's funny. I feel like
I don't know, why shouldn't it? I mean, like, the pros have their fit because it's the most advantageous for the discipline. And I feel like if you can't sustain a fit that looks something similar to what a professional is doing, I feel like there aren't a lot of like extreme fits that pros are doing. And for people that like need really big accommodations that can't get in a similar position, like, what's the problem? Where's the imbalance or the weakness, that isn't allowing them to sustain like a optimized bike fit,
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. I think that pro racers look like pro racers because they have to. They have to maximize their position on the bike. They have to be particularly aerodynamic but still powerful. They have to maintain that position for long periods of time. There's a reason they landed in that position. They didn't go chase that position so that they could be fast. They are fast, and that's the position they adopted. So it makes complete sense to me. I do think there are plenty of exceptions of why people should not try to contort their bodies into looking like a professional rider. You have to, if it's going to happen at all, it's going to happen over time for most people. So don't chase it. But if you find yourself surprisingly over time in a position that resembles that of a professional's, well, there's a reason for that.
Sorry, Ivy, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, but I think that there's this underlying like thing that we all like. A bike looks really good when it doesn't have a ton of stack, and it looks racy to us. You know what I mean? Like the longer stem, the lower stack, and there's a lot of people that don't have that, and then they look at other people that do have that aren't pro, and they say you shouldn't have that because you aren't a pro, and it's really just mirroring their own discomfort with the fact that their bike doesn't look cool, like they want it to look cool. And I'm not saying that is cool. It's just the perception that all of this operates on. I see it quite often. So like really, it's just who cares what another person's bike looks like, and it doesn't need to look like something or not need to look like something. It just needs to be, whatever it is. And there's value in consensus. I think Dan Emfield mentioned that quite a lot when we talked to him about fits, where he was like, if you look like a lot of athletes, the best athletes tend to gravitate towards similar positions. And the reason that they do that is because they've found that it's mechanically advantageous or aerodynamically advantageous for one reason or another. And it does make sense. So I must admit, like with my high levels of vanity, I love the way my bike looks too, with, I have hardly any stack, and it's nice and slammed, and it looks
Slam
cool,
that stem. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a negative 12, 120. It looks so good.
Wow.
But the thing is, I should get beyond that too. And I should to be clear, didn't make that move because I felt like I wanted it to look that way. I'm just simultaneously quite satisfied that it looks that way. But I should probably work on changing that, because as age goes up, so does stack, as it tends to go over time. So
sure.
I don't know.
I have a question for you guys. Do you ever change your stack or like your hood angle or bar angle or something for like the first little bit of your season after time off?
Yeah, change things around a bit. No, I don't, but I have, I do change my fit based on the course that I'm riding. Sometimes, like with mountain bikes, for example, I run what stem do I have now on my, I think I have a 100 or 110 on my Epic. I have a 110 now, which is long compared to what I used to have, or maybe it's a 100. I used to have like a 90 on there. And I know that's longer because it typically comes with a 60, but I go for a smaller chassis and a longer stem just because I like the feeling of it with a negative 12, I think, again, on that bike. Mm-hmm. But anyways, that might not be the best choice for certain races. So as a result, I keep the other stems and I'm able to swap the stem over and change it up. I even changed on road riding. I'm doing the dreadful thing of testing out this whole tilted inward hood thing and to see how it feels. I know it's gross.
For someone
disgusting.
that, that has admitted to being a slave to appearances, I cannot believe you are doing that.
I know. I know.
It looks so bogus.
Absolutely shamed Keegan for this, for how lame it looks. Yet here I am giving it a shot. And there are certain situations where maybe that is better, and I want to find that out. So I think it's okay to alter your fit too. Like your fit doesn't have to be your fit and you're stuck with it. Point is.
Yeah, I don't ever change the equipment. I just change how I ride the bike. So early season, I don't spend a heck of a lot of time in the drops when I'm on the indoor trainer. It's a lot of time on the tops and the hoods, and but just over time, and even during those rides, I try to spend some time in the more aggressive positions just because I know at some point I'm going to have to get comfortable with that for longer durations. But I won't go to the point of changing the bike. And honestly, I set up most of my bikes so that they look good. That is a concern, but that's more that's how I've always set them up. They've always looked good. There may be a point where I chase the aesthetics and then made my body just make it work. I don't think so. I think I'd recall that. But I would be concerned. I mean, there are parts that are on we'll actually get to this with a question, that are on my gravel bike that I just don't like to look at, but we'll get to this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We segue to our next one. Hot take. It's okay for your saddle to not be aligned center if it's for an imbalance. So I think to compensate for some sort of pelvic rotation or leg length. I don't know. Like, Chad, do you know an instance under which this would be like, okay, why someone would do this? Or
basically what you just described, if it's authentic. So if it's congenital or, hereditary genetic, then I can 100% understand why you would have to do this. Shim your foot. There are things that you have to do because your body is built like it's built. But if it's a soft tissue limitation, you need to address the soft tissue limitation, because if you allow your bike to accommodate it, not only is it never going to fix itself, but you're probably going to create other issues in the process of avoiding that issue.
And then you're going to accommodate for that one, and then that one.
It's
and
dangerous.
Then you'll wrap yourself in a pretzel, and you'll be missing out on opportunities to be able to express your full fitness because of it. Right. So look, unless you can reverse it, I agree with Chad. Unless you can reverse, or unless you can't reverse this, it's irreversible. It's just you have some sort of imbalance, and that's what it is. Yeah, in that case, then maybe. But even then, like you said, shimming, if you really need to have your hips turned to one degree or to one side, likely due to some sort of length issue, perhaps you can look at shimming or a custom shoe, or I've seen all of those different solutions that people have done to be able to maintain the saddle to be straight. Because if your saddle is crooked, that's going to make your spine and your shoulders and your neck and everything else crooked.
Have you ever ridden with a crooked saddle? I've done it.
On
swapped
accident.
the saddle and didn't bind the rail quite right, and it was tipped, and got a few miles into the ride and was like, I am a wreck. What is wrong? And yes. That was just a subtle difference, and it manifested real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this gives me anxiety thinking of that. Knowing that my saddle might not be perfectly straight does keep me up at night. So this question makes me feel weird things. So, and
I've talked to a lot of bike fitters over the years, and where they're pulling this information from, I do not know. But they've always talked about how leg length differences are rare, hugely rare. If there's anything that's pulling the pelvis into an askew position, it's soft tissue. It's not because one femur is actually longer than the other or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right. Next one. Gravel is not more inclusive because of the barriers to entry. Actually, kind of agree with this hot take, because I'm trying to do a little more gravel this spring and summer. And I was like, I'll just do this one and that one. Nope. Psych. Joke's on me. Registration filled up last year for half of the stuff I want to do. Yeah. And registration fees are like a few $100 for some of these. And just imagine, and then many of them don't have short distance options, which someone like me, fine, I can muscle out the longest, most difficult option, whatever. But
Unbound XL.
Don't
Unbound XL.
Do it.
I would just bring a bike packing setup. I would just bring a sleeping bag so I could just go take a nap.
See you in a week, y'all.
For real.
What exactly is the cutoff here?
I got my jet boil. I'm gonna make
great
snacks.
List of restaurants to stop by. A hotel stop halfway through.
But yeah, imagine being like a mom and being like, yeah, I really want to try gravel racing. I want to try racing, and looking at these events and being like, it's $300. I can't race less than 100 miles. I can't do that. I've never ridden 100 miles, that doesn't feel very inclusive. It feels like there's a huge barrier to entry. So that's why races like, BWR Scottsdale has really short options, or Bighorn Gravel in Colorado, they have a 20-mile option, with not a ton of elevation. And I love to see that for people that are just curious. They don't have to change their entire life structure to accommodate training for something that they don't even know if they'll like. That bums me out to see not a lot of options for folks like that. They just want to try it.
Mm-hmm. Those are all the best points to bring up. I do kind of side with the organizers on the side of the registration caps. You have to cap it somewhere, and it's unfortunate that if a race gets popular, or unfortunate in some ways that if it gets popular, well, that just means everyone doesn't get to do it. It just is what it is. There are only so many spots. If you didn't register fast enough, you do not get one of those spots. But cancellation lists are real. I've gotten into plenty of races on cancellation lists. But to your other 2 points, registration fees, I would love to know how those are justified, because some of those are so exorbitant, it's offensive. I won't do a race series when I see those those prices. It's
show me how it breaks down.
Penalizing me for showing up? Because I feel like this should... it's just excessive too many times.
Wouldn't it be great, Chad, if they broke down they basically said like,
I'd love to
here's how your fee is.
Here's how we're spending your money. We need to make some money and we're going to, and here's our percentage of that. Just like anyone else has to do. I mean, these feel like surprise costs to me, like Ticketmaster sort of fees being tacked on here for no good reason.
Yeah, think about the costs that go behind like a road stage race, like permitting road closures, lead and follow cars, paying USAC officials, paying like timing services. Like sure, timing and things still are involved with gravel racing, but like they usually don't have permitting for full road closures. There's usually cars on the road.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they're lead or follow vehicles. It's not USAC sanctioned, so they're not having to like do USAC permitting or pay USAC officials to come, officiate the event. I'm really curious, actually.
Yeah. Event organizers, this is a huge opportunity for you because of like legislation in the United States is going to be passed. It's going to remove, or at least they're trying to do it. It's going to remove hidden fees from ticket sellers to events. They're trying to do that. It's going to become like a common narrative. And if you get ahead of this, you're going to be seen in a very positive light if you can do this. And I'm just saying it's going to make you very popular. So huge opportunity for all of you, business opportunity for you to transparently do that and then sell out all of your events. I guarantee you. Like it's just, it's going to happen. So,
and then when it comes to the shorter distance options, again, I'm 100% in line with Ivy's take on this and I'm looking at this with fresh eyes because now not only do I want to do some of these gravel events, but Amaret wants to do them too. Bought her a sweet bike, building it up right now. Very excited, but not super excited that she's going to have to do an 80-mile ride. 80 miles on gravel, depending on the course layout, that can be a brutal, long, not fun day. And there's no alternative short of turning around early or truncating the course, which, that defies what the experience ought to be about. So I do think it seems like such an easy get too. Just find some different routes. It just can't be that complex. It can't be something that race organizers can't overcome.
Mm-hmm. This is coming from a person that is, not gravel's biggest fan. That's me. I want to say why gravel is inclusive because I do think these points are really valid. I think it is more inclusive than road racing because of the fact that it is not. There's not the implication that you need to be super fast. You can bring the fitness that you have and go for it. Whereas in road racing and cross-country mountain bike racing, that is not there. If you're not really fit, you're like, you feel uncomfortable, you're scared to even be there. That's very true. So I think that that's one really good thing about it. Number two, the other good thing is that there's such a wide variety of bikes that are present there. You can show up with the equipment you have and people aren't going to look sideways at you. Like you're just another person out there doing your best. That's, I think, another really good point. So, and then outside of that, I do think that gravel does a better job than road racing and cross country at giving you different lengths and that sort of stuff. But yes, it could do way more. These are really good points though. I agree. And I just want, be sweet to get somebody, a race organizer, to start sharing where all of the money goes. And I swear, if you just say on there, you have 50% of that entry fee is like to our pockets because it helps our business and then we can grow and do more stuff. No one's going to be upset about that. Just say
it. Transparency is highly appreciated.
Exactly. We just want transparency because right now I wonder why in the world I have to pay like $750 to race a gravel event with 0 closed roads and aid stations that might not even have cold water by the time I get to them. Like what am I paying you for? So, yeah.
Orange slices. Banana slices.
Pretzels.
But they're organic. I mean, come on.
That's good.
All right. This one's good. Elevation training on the weekends improves aerobic capacity. Chad and John, what have your readings on like acute altitude exposure said about this?
Just like training on the weekends improves your fitness too. It doesn't though. We talked about this. It has to be a recurrent stimulus, and it has to be. Consistency, maybe above all things. We've talked about that a number of times, and I suppose you could argue that training stress in general is more important than consistency. We could tease out arguments to that, but the fact is, you have to be consistent to yield improvement. That's not enough of a stimulus to your physiology to yield anything lasting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, typically you want to be spending a time frame of like 14 days at altitude. Sometime in between 7 to 14 days is when people start to see the first bit of adaptation that happens. And it seems like anything over 21 days or anything else like that, and your benefits are Yeah, exactly. It starts to go back. So there is a placebo effect probably to this, and even a bit more than placebo, like psychological adaptation as well to this probably, Chad, that's there maybe. I could see, like in the sense that, let's say that you are a low elevation rider and going up to elevation scares you. Like you're thinking about it and you're like, I'm not going to be able to go hard. I'm going to short of breath and everything else. And just having more time there and realizing that it's okay and that actually it's you're not going to be in a dangerous situation and it's fine. That could very well do a lot, because I think from what I see, a lot of athletes hamper themselves excessively with elevation just by managing their expectations poorly. By going into it and just thinking like, this is going to be bad. I'm not good at altitude. I never come up here. This is going to be scary. And then that obviously becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your race won't go well.
And I wouldn't even classify that as placebo effect. That's just familiarity, reducing the incoming fear. So anything that makes you more okay with the situation is going to be a benefit. And yeah, it's psychological, but just because it's psychological doesn't make it placebo. I mean, that's measurable and real. So
just because it's psychological also doesn't mean that it's actually physical, in the sense that it's making adaptations in your body, like you said, either, Chad. They're separate.
Yeah.
You know,
just because you get a little bit better at riding at 6,000 feet doesn't mean anything physiologically has actually taken place.
Yeah.
Cool. Good stuff. All right. This is not a hot take, but more of a question. Why do I get DOMs from endurance workouts, but not threshold and VO2 workouts? What do you think, Chad?
Probably the duration of the stress. So, but by their nature, endurance workouts are long. So we're taking fibers that resist fatigue really well and riding long enough to actually fatigue them. And that to a greater degree is going to be probably more damaging than just hitting a threshold workout for a much shorter duration, not much shorter length of time. Same goes with VO2 max. I mean, those are really short. Yeah, it's a lot of muscle stress, but you don't spend a heck of a lot of time there. Not to mention it's VO2 max may seem like, and maybe threshold to a lesser degree, really forceful pedal or contractions of the muscle, and they are, but not anything akin to strength training. There's no eccentric aspect to the movement. We're not weighting the muscles as they're lengthening or stressing them as they're lengthening, which goes for endurance workouts too. But because endurance workouts are so long and that fatigue does take place, it just could has a greater chance of lending itself to delayed onset muscle soreness.
Yeah, typically sense. DOMS comes just from a novel stimulus, right, Chad? In the sense that,
and that's it too. So that's a really good point, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because endurance workouts aren't all going to lead to DOMS just because they're endurance workouts. They're endurance workouts that are outside of your current capabilities. So if you're used to riding 2 hours and you go out on the weekend and you get roped into a 5-hour ride, it's not unreasonable to expect a bit of muscle soreness. Those things typically don't happen with threshold and VO2 workouts. Those are much more self-limiting than endurance work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can get yourself.
That might be it right there. That might be your answer right there.
Over-unders for 5 hours.
Microbursts.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well said, Chad. I don't have anything to add to that.
Great. I feel like this one is also for Chad. One. Hot take: 100 push-ups a day is sufficient strength training for cyclists.
Yeah, I'm being prodded for sure, because there's push-ups aren't strength training. First off, they might yield a little bit of a strength adaptation, there's so many ways I could take this. First off, 100 push-ups. What are we talking about? One push-up every minute for 400 minutes?
Yeah.
100 in a row, because that's very different. So let's just say, for the sake of this argument, we're talking about being able to do 100 push-ups in a row. Well, you tell me, is that strength or is that endurance? I mean, that's clearly endurance. You're just moving your body weight and you're doing it a lot of times. So you've raised your muscle endurance to a point where, cool, that'll probably translate to the bike in some favorable ways, but it is not sufficient strength training, not for cyclists, not for humans.
That's assuming that you also are doing them with correct technique, which push-ups above all, probably on any exercise, are done with the bandwidth is inappropriately wide for what seems to be acceptable for push-ups.
I love critiquing push-ups, but you could make a case for this if you want to put a couple 45-pound plates on your back and bang out sets of 10 or sets of 5 or whatever it may be. That's real, and that could cultivate strength, but I don't think that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Hot take: fueling with carbs for an early morning 1-hour workout is overrated. The type of workout you have for a 1-hour workout in the morning should determine how you fuel, But for me, not fueling with carbs for even being awake and alive is a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. This definitely comes from the deprivation perspective, right, Ivy? Where it's like seeking any opportunity to deprive yourself of carbohydrate is where you start from, and from this perspective. And then as a result, you start to think, do I really need it for this? Do I really need it for this? And you're kind of missing out on something. And this is why a lot of you go into races and then you're like, oh, my gut blew up in the race and I don't know why. And it's because you deprive yourself of carbohydrate. You're not used to metabolizing it. Your body doesn't really know what to do with it in an active state. And then you show up on race day and you're like, hey, buddy, here's like a hops gel with birthday cake gel, and then like a random drink mix I've never had, and like a quesadilla from an aid station. Like, make do and give me energy. And it doesn't know how to do that. You haven't even given it the ability to train itself on how to metabolize this when you're talking about controlled nutrition, let alone the chaos that you'll throw at it on race day. So look, there's a fear that a lot of athletes have that if I take in anything, it's going to make me fat. And the science doesn't back that up as being an outcome that you need to worry about. We're talking to all of you athletes here, people that are training and doing things regularly. It's very different when you're talking about fueling the work. And I just think that you're missing out on a great opportunity to be able to adapt and help your body get to the point where it can take in sufficient fuel on the bike to be able to keep up whatever effort you need to keep up. So, like, don't get me wrong, if it's just like a recovery workout riding really low, yeah, you probably don't need to. 100 watts for an hour, again, like I said last week, is 360 grams of, it's going to be 360 calories. So that's roughly 90 grams of carbs if you want to view it from that way. Sure, a good chunk of that's probably also coming from fat. But I promise you that it's not just what you burn during the workout, but what you burn after. There's that afterburn effect as well. And you fueling yourself isn't going to make you fat. Don't worry about it. So,
right. That minimal effective dose of like, how little can I get away with? I've never wanted to have that approach. What do you think, Chad?
So Jonathan, those are all fair points and accurate to the best of my knowledge. So all good points, but I agree with this statement. I do think fueling in early morning workouts 1 hour or less is overrated. Are there benefits to fueling? Yep. Is it necessary? Nope. And there's nothing preventing you from doing any type of workout that lasts an hour that you couldn't do on an empty stomach. If you come in, you're not in a glycogen depleted state, you only need to do an hour's worth of work. If it's an intervals workout, it's not going to be a solid hour's worth of work on top of that. And you address your fueling afterward, no harm done. It's hard for me to imagine what is going to work against you over the course of that single hour workout. Maybe doing it every day of the week over time would add up to something more negatively impacting. But if for whatever reason it's just hard for you to eat prior to that, and I'm back on that particular schedule of working out super early in the morning, and I can barely tolerate black coffee. That's about it. Put cream in my coffee and it kind of shifts the balance a little bit. So this is where I come from, and I'm not trying to use myself as an anecdote that forgives all. But while there are benefits, I don't think it's necessary. Terming it as overrated, I think, is a fair way to describe it.
Mm-hmm. This is a good point that you bring up, Chad, because you should have enough onboard stores to be able to make it through even an hour of very hard work, right? Because if it's just an hour, unless you were deprived coming into it, which, let's be real, if you're coming from this deprivation perspective, you might very well be deprived coming into it. So as a result, you will find that hour difficult.
Yeah.
But what you're referring to, Chad,
solid
is
point.
If you do an hour of work, like, you should have enough onboard stores to make it through that hour.
And again, unless you're coming in a depleted state, a partially depleted state, there's got to be enough fuel to get through an hour of just about anything. Even a 1IF, 1.0 IF, 40K TT, where you bury yourself and finish at 60 minutes, giving it everything you had.
Yep.
You can do it. Just go eat after.
The one thing I would say with this is that I find that most athletes go through a situation where they train, they unintentionally diet on the bike. Mm-hmm. And then what they do is they go throughout the rest of the day. They have a mentally demanding job, physically demanding life in one way or another. They've got a lot of stress going on, everything else. And they didn't really do a proper accounting of the work that they did during that ride. They figured it's just an hour, I can get through it, I have enough onboard stores. They don't then fuel necessarily after that to keep themselves fueled throughout the rest of the day. Life gets hard. Suddenly it gets harder to be consistent in your workouts. Then on top of that, it makes the next day's workout, like you said, Chad, it can compound and then make the next day's workout harder and the next day's workout harder. And that's the more common problem that I see with athletes, is that it's just an hour, but you're not thinking of all the other stress that's going to come in through the rest of your day, and how are you going to actually fuel for all of this. It's like a great way to start yourself at a potential disadvantage. It like increases the likelihood that you could come into the end of the day when you go to sleep slightly underfueled, and then that makes the next day harder. So that's like the big thing. But there's also, Chad, you touched on something. When I wake up and I train early, there's no way that I could eat like a bunch of food beforehand, but I don't care to. I have a lot of onboard fuel, I know. And then on top of that, when I get on that bike, I'm taking in carbs. So I don't put the pressure on myself to need to eat something beforehand. I know I have onboard fuel and I'm bringing stuff in during, and that's plenty. Like, so I think that there's this assumption too that you need to like eat a bunch of food in the morning and then give it time to digest and then get onto the bike. And that really does overcomplicate everything. Instead, I think you have enough fuel to get through the workout, fuel during that workout, so then the rest of your day is better. And then that makes it so that the next day then is just less difficult.
That folds into our next hot take too, which is that synthetic foods are better than natural foods for riding or racing, i.e. gels. So, John, when you're talking about like being able to start off an early morning workout, fueled or not, how do you think foods like a gel or like a high carb drink mix fits in versus having a big breakfast before your super early morning workouts?
This is going to bring a lot of flack from a lot of folks, but I am 100% on board with this. I think that, first of all, it's not synthetic. It's not like this is something that isn't real nutrient or anything else that we're taking in. It's just, we're talking sugar and salt in most cases. And sugar and salts are not synthetic in that degree. If it was like stevia, I guess that would be synthetic, but that's not what we're going for. We want energy. So anyways, I guess what they're getting at is gels, drink mixes, that sort of thing, rather than natural whole foods that they're talking about. And yeah, 100% they're better. Anything like, just look at the essentials, that's what your body needs. Anything in addition to that is potential for excess complication that could cause other issues. So yeah, I'm 100% on board. Keep it distilled. And sure, it might seem tough or difficult to do that, but as you take it in at the right rate and work your way up to it, then it's easy to do.
Yeah. What do you think, Chad?
I think in this case, better should just translate to more digestible, because that's what we're after. So, and the more easily digestible they are, the better they're going to be for high intensity efforts like riding and racing require. I mean, if it's low intensity riding, yeah, eat whatever you want. It'll probably work. But if you're doing high intensity work, if you need quick fuel, if you need to ingest a lot of fuel, these foods are they're simple and they're very purpose driven.
Yeah. What do you think
specifically purpose driven?
Yeah, John, in the scope of when you're talking about these shorter workouts and how you fuel and then how it affects you the rest of your day, if you have like a mentally demanding job or demanding life, and like, do you think synthetic foods, gels versus real food, do you think that plays any role in that?
Well, this like bleeds into the whole thing where like if you're just eating gels and you're at your desk working, it's not a good thing to do. Even if you have a very mentally demanding job, it's probably not the best thing to do. When we're in an active state, our body handles nutrients very differently than when we are in, I can't remember if I just said inactive or active, but the fact is it's different in either situation. So, no, I don't think it causes any sort of difference. However, when I get off that bike, the last thing I'm doing is reaching for drink mix or something. I would never do that. Like when I'm off the bike, that's when I'm reaching for, amazing, delicious food. So
I think I asked this because there are a couple athletes have asked me like, how should I fuel? If I fuel my workout differently, will it help set me up nutritionally better for the rest of the day or not? Will it harm me potentially?
Find out. Do it. Find out. No, I'm serious. I mean, you may notice that skipping your meal, doing a hard workout, not having a meal doesn't impact the rest of your day. I think most people will find out otherwise, but some people may work out for it. But I do want to be careful. Anything that paves a way or sets the stage for nutritional issues is, it's delicate territory. You need to to proceed with caution. Just recognize what you're setting yourself up for. If in fact you do just find yourself skipping meals because you're super weight conscious and you got to alter that body composition, and workouts are that's my opportunity to do it. So I'm not going to feed. I'm going to starve myself so that I can do it faster. That's absolutely the wrong way to go about it. I hope we've covered that enough times to make that abundantly clear. But again, overrated is a term, and I know I'm backtracking again. But this does bring me to a point. I mean, like we talked about, like Jonathan reiterated, it's super hard for my stomach to tolerate anything hopping on the bike. But half hour into the bike, I have no problem tolerating a gel, and I often pop one, especially depending on the type of workout. If it's a big burner, then that gel, I think it makes a big deal. If just nothing else, just having a little sugar on my tongue just tastes good. I just feel better because of that. And then of course, we talked about the central effects and everything that goes with just having carbohydrate in your mouth, on the tongue, sugar in particular. But if that's your concern, if it's the sensitive stomach issue, see how you feel 15, 20, 30 minutes into the workout, because it might be a different story.
Agreed.
Great advice. All right. Ooh. Hot take. America will be the dominant cycling nation in 10 years. I don't agree with this whatsoever. This is very optimistic.
It is very optimistic. I agree with that. I do think they are going to be much better than they have been. I think that we're just leaving this post, the U.S. postal doping depression that hit our country in terms of the cycling talent development. A lot of resources were pulled from cycling, and a lot of interest left cycling really quick. And boy, it's been a good start for the year so far when you look at pro road racing on the men's side.
Quinn Simmons, Nielsen Pallas, and now Matteo Jorgensen.
Yeah, and Matteo, I think tomorrow.
Yesterday.
Is he still in the leader's jersey? I think tomorrow's the last.
I don't know. I don't know what today will have. I can't get the timing on that one right, but I know that 3 stages deep, he has the leader's jersey. What happens after that, I don't.
It's amazing. Listen to that episode we did with Matteo Jorgensen, and then go and follow him and give him all your support. It's pretty
big
amazing.
Deal. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, great athlete.
Well done, Matteo.
I was blown away when he said he did 160 grams an hour during the tour of carbs throughout the tour. It's pretty darn impressive. Big engine burning there. So,
that is
anyways, yeah.
Gut tolerance. That's mind-blowing.
Seriously, right? Yeah. But yeah, we will be better. Look at what we have going on with NICA and everything else, but we will not be the dominant nation. No, that won't happen.
I disagree. I think there's nothing I would like to see more. Absolutely. I think we're all on that page. I don't think, in fact, I feel strongly that it won't be due to a shortage of talent. We've got tons of talent. I think we have a good pipeline in a lot of respects. I think some infrastructure could use some work. Some race series are lacking. I think Lifetime GP is a good example of how we can grow the sport and just draw people from other countries, shed light on how good our American riders are. I mean, it's nothing but beneficial. We need more Lifetime GPs, in my humble opinion. There's something that's gumming up the works here, and I'm not sure what it is. I mean, I won't pretend to. I don't know how hard it is for governing bodies to get talent from the inception phase all the way through to Olympic and world level. I don't know what the stopgap is, or what the bottleneck, I guess, is. But I do know that we have the talent, and we show that all the time. So for us to be the dominant force, just having riders like Quinn, Nielsen, Matteo, and this is just on the men's side of things. The women's side of things, there are prime examples
mountain
as
biking.
Well. It's and across disciplines too. Mm-hmm. There has to be something that's limiting the cyclocross performance, and perhaps it's just living in Europe, adapting to a new culture, and racing at the highest level on top of it. I mean, there are other limits that I think can be remedied, but what's it going to take to remedy those? So the potential's there. I think we have the talent for sure, but something else is holding it back, and it ain't the riders.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Agreed. Well said, Chad.
We shall see. We'll meet again in 10 years. Talk about it.
Put a pin in it.
Yeah.
All right. Hot take. Athletes with executive function difficulties, so ADHD, for example, need more sugar and caffeine during workouts because the dopamine hit helps them stay engaged during workouts.
I wish we had Nate for this one.
Nate.
I was just going to say, this is a Nate question. I have
so text
nothing
Nate
on this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like probably like most people listening to this, like exhibit some symptoms of ADHD, don't exhibit many others. Like that symptom list seems to be expanding constantly too. And it's hard for me to understand. I've never been tested for anything like that. So
I'm not going to try to self-diagnose either. What I do is none of my business, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so what you say here seems very logical, submitter of question, where you can say that need more sugar and caffeine during workouts because the dopamine hit helps them stay engaged during workouts. Like that does seem logical, but I feel like there's also a lot of physiology that assumption operates upon. And I don't know enough about it at all to be able to make any sort of educated guess with it. Anecdotally, I could hear Nate saying this. Like when I read this, I read it in Nate's voice. Like, I can, so I'm sure that, and he also like, he asked me multiple times, like, how do you function without caffeine? Like, or how do you, because for him, it's a very different experience. So I don't know. I don't have a way of understanding even the perspective on this. So,
yeah.
But don't feel bad if you're taking in sugar and caffeine. I hope that this isn't a question born out of you feeling like you should feel like less because you use that in one way or another. Like no, like you do what you need to do to be able to perform. So
yeah, I feel like if there's anything to be taken away from this question or hot take or the discussion itself, it's that there are some benchmarks that we should try to meet as athletes for carbs or, sugars or caffeines to optimize performance, but that's very subjective, right? And depends on the individual. And if you need to do more because it helps you perform better, do so as long as it's safe. There's a safe amount of caffeine that you should be taking. But yeah, this should all be very individualized and safe. Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Aero road frames make no difference in real world group riding.
Yeah, I kind of agree with this. Unless you're a person, I don't agree with no difference. There is a difference made, but it is very minimal. Remember, whenever you're looking at road or wind tunnel data or anything else, time saved over X, whatever it is, you are looking at that in terms of you alone, away from everybody else in controlled circumstances. But in most cases, with road riding, they usually test bikes at a variety of yaw angles. And I think that the marketers then go with whichever is the least amount of drag, whatever yaw angle that is, whether it's the most common you experience or not. And then when you're riding with a group and you're in the draft, I don't care how aero your bike is. Like if you have 17 riders in front of you and you have 25 behind you, you're in a vacuum. Like, so it's like, it doesn't matter. And I think that that's a really good point and probably one worth consideration when people are thinking about like, should I spend a ton of money on this upgrade because it's more aerodynamic? If you're a breakaway specialist, yeah, do it. When you race, if you don't spend a lot of time off the front, and you spend a lot of time in the group, then don't do it, I would say. So.
I have an opinion about this, but I want to hear what Chad has to say first.
I don't have much to add. I know that as far as aerodynamic benefit, the frame is not high on the list. So, and yeah, it is tested. When you're riding in a group, all that kind of goes out the window anyway. I do think, kind of to Jonathan's point, if you are a breakaway rider, if you're someone who believes that aerodynamics matters, well, there is a placebo benefit there. So why not go for that? If just having a cooler looking bike, a more aggressive looking bike works for you, then by all means. But I think there are much more cheaply, easily gained marginal gains.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think that aero road frames can make a difference in group riding when there's a negative impact. So I'm thinking specifically about like way earlier model like Aero or integrated braking systems that like don't really work very effectively.
Those were terrifying.
Really scary, right? So that could inhibit you in a group setting when you maybe don't ride in the same way you would on like a really effective braking system that works well, that you can really trust. If like your equipment doesn't necessarily work super well because it's made to accommodate being really aero. So that's my hot take.
That's a good point.
I have that the final Trek Speed concept that still had rim brakes. That's my TT bike, and the one I've adapted over to be a tri bike. And those brakes are a mere suggestion of slowing. They make more noise than anything else. That's just like it's so terrifying. But I will say it's pretty wild, man. With the position that I have right now, it's not like refined or anything else. I have 0 wind tunnel data. But the other day we had a day just perfectly still air, like not a single breath of wind. And 200 watts gets me 23 to 24 miles an hour.
Wow.
It is wild how aerodynamically efficient it is. So I hope that from this question, you don't think the aero bikes are useless. They're absolutely not. That's like, a TT bike is different than an aero road bike, but that aero road bike will make a difference when you're not sitting in a draft. If it's well designed and, everything else with it too. So yeah.
Good points. All right. We are paying too much for chamois cream. I agree with this because I, during a race block recently, forgot chamois cream and I just used unscented lotion for like a month. And sure, I had to use more than I would have otherwise, but I didn't need chamois cream.
Was it exactly the same? That's like some chamois cream I get and I'm like, this is lotion. Like there's
lotion.
No difference at all. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with this too. I don't know. Chad, you?
Yeah, I've gone 180 on this because asked me 10 years ago, I would have said, the fact that you're paying anything for chamois cream means you're paying too much. And now I feel like that stuff's worth its weight in gold because it saved my my butt. Literally
saved. That was a good save. Yeah. That was a good pun too. So the stuff and I'm looking at like also chamois cream. It's quite nice, but I think that it's just lotion and it's like $30. That's pretty expensive for a small little thing. Squirt beer, which I know it's bad name. Then you also
like where this is going.
They make chain lube too. So at first when I heard this, like this is terrible, but they make their own chamois cream called Barrier Balm, and it's really similar to like a bag balm, but it doesn't have the strong menthol at all with it. That stuff is really good. Like if you've got big problems, like you're in the middle of a stage race or something or a big training block and you're like, and you really need chamois cream, this stuff is really good, but you better wash your chamois after you use it. Don't be like Chad wearing the same chamois at days on end.
Hey,
so
I do not do that. That's the guy who didn't use chamois cream. He could get away with it.
That's
not
right.
That guy anymore.
Yeah. But it's very effective at like, it's like serious chamois cream. So that stuff's really good. I think that it's somewhere around $20 for that. And yeah, it is like in my opinion, yeah, it is all too much and too expensive. But I mean, and I don't hardly ever use chamois cream, but when I'm in a stage race or going into a big race, I use chamois cream because the last thing I want to do is I want to get into a situation where I've got like, if I'm just developing saddle soreness, right? Or the skin is chapped or anything else like that, or heaven forbid, actually develop a real saddle sore. So that's, like in a race situation like that, coming into a big race or in the middle of a stage race, that's when I would use it. But otherwise, I just don't use it. I don't know.
Yeah, so, makes sense.
But just use lotion, I think.
Yeah.
That's not medical advice. It might be bad. I don't know what I just did. So.
That's all right. Yeah. Okay. Naps should get more hype than ice baths for recovery. This is this can backfire on you. Recovery naps can backfire.
How?
Okay, one, when you accidentally nap for so long that you wreck your actual nighttime sleep.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I'm talking about like taking a post-ride nap and then waking up and it's 7:30 at night. And whoops. Or when you nap before you do all your other really important recovery stuff. So post-ride nutrition. So this happened to me a few days ago when I came back from a ride and was like rolling around on the ground, like stretching and doing core. And I passed out on the ground for like more than an hour, and all of a sudden that window for really key nutrition stuff that needed to happen after that workout that I did just didn't happen because I napped. So yes, napping is good and should get hyped but not in the place of more key recovery steps.
The oft overlooked high risks of naps.
Oh gosh.
They can bite you. Yeah. Chad, what do you think about this?
Yeah, admittedly, there are some pitfalls. You nap too long and you can wake up feeling not sharp, lethargic. It can impact your evening sleep. I think a lot of people chase hormone release and the durations typically don't line up. I'm reading, it's Dr. Nikki Kay. She finally published a book, which is, man, I wish that she had published this book 10 years ago. I swear I'd read it every year. It's called Hormones, Health, and Human Potential. And it's the best breakdown on hormones and their influence on the body and how everything is really about hormones. It just is, and that's not arguable. So I'm trying to get a better grasp on this. I would like to have a really good answer for this should we ever decide to do a deep dive, and I think it's impending. But I don't have a heck of a lot of faith in ice baths, so just about anything, in my opinion, is better recovery than ice baths are. And napping is the best thing. It can be beneficial on the preparatory side too. I've found so many times that I have an afternoon workout lined up, just not feeling it. I set my alarm for 20 minutes, lay down, close my eyes. I may sleep for 18 of those minutes. I may sleep for one of those minutes, but I get up, I'm refreshed, and I'm ready to hit that workout. Even if it's just on the cognitive side, I think they're better time spent than most of the overly hyped recovery methods and mechanisms.
It's hard to sell naps, right? Like for a company to sell naps. Yeah. Yeah, that's really it. Like I just looked, and a cold plunge, you can buy a $7,500 cold plunge. Like,
good for them.
Expensive. Like, yeah,
good for them. Just take the fool's money.
It's not the company's property or like fault for doing that. You know what I mean? Like that just is what it is.
Oh, wow.
First of all, ice baths like are not good for recovery. If you have excess, they're actually bad for it. If you're doing a post like workout sort of a thing,
they're good for other things. Like
if you're trying to reduce thermal strain, you're overheating. I mean, there are upsides to them, but
could be beneficial when you're talking about in the middle of a stage race, right? Like, so then that way after the like super hot stage, you can get your core temp back down quickly. You could argue that an easily, like a similarly effective way to do that would be to have something like a slushy right after that. And then also just to like do a cold, like getting some cold water, lay down in the river. I don't know, something like that. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. And we did a video on cryotherapy, and you should check that out. Go to our YouTube channel and you can see where we talk about, because it's actually similar principles in that regard in terms of how cold therapy can be used. But so first of all, with this one, I have two problems. Number one, ice baths are not good for recovery, although I do understand that you're not saying that. You're just saying they're hyped for recovery. And I do take umbrage with that hype that exists. I also find it quite odd it seems like an obsession to film yourself while you get into cold water and share it with the world on social media. And I don't really understand why.
Or anything for that.
You know, like everyone just wants to like film themselves cold plunging. And I'm just like, all right. You're in cold water. Well done. I don't know. It's an odd obsession, I guess. Just an observation.
That's my response to most things I see on Instagram.
Yeah.
Great.
But naps, man. Naps are incredible. And this is coming from somebody that's like extremely sleep deprived right now. And I might pay whatever that cold plunge price is just to be able to guarantee that I could actually sleep.
Like, $7,500 a nap.
Yeah.
I got a great little napping nook for you, buddy.
Yeah.
That you price?
Do. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Chad's got a great little nap nook at his house. I just saw it the other day. So anyways, but if any of you can nap and you're not napping, don't miss out. That's a wonderful opportunity and I'm extremely jealous. And it is something that can go a long way to helping out. So yeah, naps should get more hype. I agree.
You know you've made it when your day includes a nap.
Oh, yeah. Like you read like those like CEOs where it's like day in the life of like Richard Branson and it's like 3 a.m. and then like all the way until like 11 p.m. or something. And it's like, there's no nap in there, man. Don't care what you did. Exactly. You sent rockets to space or whatever and did all that, but you still didn't nap.
You're not napping.
You could buy a $7,000 ice bath plunge, but no naps. Not worth it.
Exactly. Yeah. More napping. Film yourself napping. Actually, that's really creepy. Don't do that. So, but that's also not as exciting, I guess, as getting into cold water. So
Jonathan wants to watch you nap. That's the headline for the podcast today.
Please delete that. I do not want to do that. I'm not into
Oh my gosh.
That sounds creepy. So.
There have got to be influencers that do that.
Oh,
sure.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. The world is weird.
All right. Hot take, bikes are too heavy now. I think maybe with the way in which like dropper posts are being used, this could be true. Is it that bad though? Like if
it's not that bad.
Like
for sure, it's not that bad.
If you have better equipment that suits you well, is a few extra ounces that big of a deal? I don't think so. They're not too heavy. They do more. Bikes aren't too heavy. They can do more cool things and accommodate more people and things. I like that.
Yeah. This is a good hot take though. I like this because you like remove the context from it and you make it somewhat inflammatory. It's quite good. So well structured individual that said this. But Chad, what do you think?
No. Most bikes I don't think are too heavy. I think people make too much of a deal out of weight. I mean, weight weenies isn't the most complimentary term. I think there are better things to worry about. I guess e-bikes, they're heavy, but they can do a lot.
That's true. Yep.
Big old downhill bombers, they're heavy, but they can do a lot. So there's a trade-off between how heavy your bike is and its capabilities. And I think it's a fairly weighted one.
Mm-hmm. I differ from you two in this one. Sure. I do think that bikes are too heavy, but I think it's also, I'm going to put a tin hat on right now. I think that it's somewhat intentional because I think that we are going to see, we've had like a wave of innovation bringing electronic group sets, better suspension damping on mountain bikes and dropper posts. We've had road bikes become more aero, but then also handle better. But the weight thing hasn't been a point of focus. Whereas, boy, rewind 10 years ago and weight was everything. That was like the main focus. Like, well, how much does the bike weigh? So I think that it's like a next frontier that is going to be revisited by a lot of bike brands over the next 5 years or so, where they're going to be like all the functionality, less weight. Mm-hmm. So I think I do agree. Like, I think that if you look at gravel bikes in particular, like that new Specialized Diverge STR, that one with a weird shock thing to it. And even the previous Diverge, the bike rode so incredibly well. So I don't want to discount that. They just ride so very well, but they're heavy, like compared to what you would expect for a normal gravel bike, like a road-ish bike. They're heavy. So I think there's a ton of weight that we can strip out of these bikes probably and still get good ride characteristics and such. So I think it's going to happen. I agree with that. So
cool. We can revisit this in 10 years.
Yes, great.
We can also make the easy argument that is your bike too heavy or are you too heavy? And I'm not trying to inflame the people who think they're packing around too much weight. And I don't want to get in anyone's head in a negative manner. But the fact is, if you're super concerned about an extra half pound on your bike, but you're sporting a 10-pound beer belly,
well, even then, Chad, like we probably fluctuate within a range of like 2 to 5 pounds every day.
Just with water,
if you're training, just in water, right? Mm-hmm. And when I say the bikes are too heavy, they aren't going to drop 10 pounds. They're going to drop 2 pounds, 1 pound, 3 pounds, maybe somewhere around there. It's not going to be something huge. So really valid point, Chad. And something that I should be reminded of. So,
and in the scope of your performance too, like apart from just weight, when you're thinking about like a handful of ounces impacting your performance, could you also have gotten an extra hour of sleep that would way make up for that deficit or eaten more,
Yeah.
Man, this is on our Instagram somewhere, and I can't remember the stuff. Not somewhere. It's on our Instagram. Yeah. That's where it is. But
the cost of getting faster.
Yeah, we've talked, and we even broke down like with best bike split. Like, let's say you spent a ton of money and you saved a pound on this really expensive wheel set, and then how much that would save you over a course. Like, buying light stuff is so expensive, and the cost per gram, like that just goes up exponentially as weight gets lower, and it's really not worth it when you look at performance improvement in the end. So really going back on what I said, I disagree. I think that brands will convince us that they are too heavy. And as a result, that's why it's important that everything is becoming light again. But in terms of performance, it makes way more money or way more sense to spend your money on something that makes you faster, like a TrainerRoad subscription.
Better ways to allocate your resources.
Yeah. Yep. Sign up for TrainerRoad, trainerroad.com. Yeah.
There's the best.
Quick point on that really quick, just an aside. Life has been so unpredictable and crazy lately. And I've missed workouts. I've failed workouts. I've done all those different things. It is so nice to have adaptive training just take care of it. And if you're listening to this and you haven't used it, you need to experience that. It's just amazing. Usually, when you get a coach or something like that, if you're going to be every single day calling him up and saying like, hey, like this happened and I need to change it, that's an expensive coach. This is $19.99 a month and it does it multiple times a day. It will check all the time for you to make sure that everything is right. So it's so cool. Really neat.
And you can just try it. You can just check it out for 30 days.
If it doesn't make you faster, 30 days, get your money back, right? Right, Ivy?
Yep. Do it. Try it.
Hard sell. It's good.
So that we can keep doing podcasts. If you don't,
yes,
we don't get to do any more podcasts.
Yeah. More podcasts, more new features. We got like a ton of great stuff with adaptive training coming. So we don't have investors. This is how we grow. So we appreciate you.
Okay. Speaking of training your 10-minute power is more important than training your sprint for crit racing. I'm going to let Chad go first.
Yeah, I'm going to broad stroke this one. I can't think of a situation where 10-minute power is valuable. I just can't.
Just like a solid 10-minute where? Like a prologue?
Raise your hour power so that you can go on a 10-minute flyer toward the end of a race.
I see what you mean, Chad.
There's just, there are scenarios where you want to eke the most out of your 10 minutes at the highest power you can, but targeting 10-minute power and the physiology that goes with it, it makes no sense to me. So just about anything would be better for your crit racing than targeting 10-minute power.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I kind of disagree. Because I'm thinking of just those.
What physiological system are you hitting when you target 10-minute power?
Yeah.
If you're to devise a training plan that lifts your 10-minute power, in what ways is that going to make you a better bike racer? That 5-minute power, 20-minute power wouldn't do better.
Yeah. First of all, that sounds like the most miserable training ever because you're probably going to be doing really long VO2 and really high short threshold, really hard. But within that, I will say that the 10-minute duration, devoid of training, but the 10-minute duration in a crit, I can see being employed.
If that's what this question's about,
yes, I could see that. But to your point, Chad, probably the best way to do that isn't just to focus on 10-minute training. Instead, it's to focus on raising your FTP and then at the same time also working on your anaerobic capabilities and, kind of pulling things up from the top in that regard with, VO2 max work and such too. So, and above that. But anyways, but I could see 10 minutes, like that does tend to be, like where, in a crit, if you're in the last 5 minutes, 5 minutes of a crit,
very practical.
Hackles are up on everybody, right? And like any move, it is not going to get away. And then you typically have in crits, it seems like in the beginning, there's a bunch of silly little flyers. They don't matter. And the counters to that, there might be something that goes out, and that might be something that sticks for a while. Halfway through a race, if there's something isn't sticking, it's somebody's going to try to make a move that actually sits out front for a while. Whether it lasts, that's a different matter. But somebody will try to do that. And then there's this lull and like that, the third quarter of a race where not a lot happens. And in that transition period, in that third quarter and toward the end of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter, that might be somewhere around 10 minutes to go. And it can be a really good time. So if you have that, you can attack and everyone will look at you and be like, oh, that's way too long. He won't be able to stick that. She won't be able to hold that one. So it is like strategically a very good time frame to be aware in a race. However, just training 10-minute power by just focusing on 10-minute power is not likely to make you a very effective racer.
Yeah. So if you've trained in other ways that have given you higher 10-minute power, then you can employ that 10-minute power super well. I mean, that's enough time to lap a field on a crit course. That's enough time to really stick a brake, to establish a big enough gap that riders will come across you. That's enough time to take a last lap solo flyer. That's enough time to do a lot of things. So from that perspective, absolutely. Do whatever you can do such that you have a really hard 10-minute punch. That I get. I don't think it's more important than training your sprint, although then we have to talk about strategy. How are you going to race the race?
Right.
And so few people actually sprint for a win, right? Like we think of the majority of crit racers that are out there. There's going to be, I don't know, 5, maybe 10 in like a bunch sprint sort of scenario that are actually sprinting for the win, but it's more likely to be 5 or less that are actually sprinting for the win. Yet sprinting it's really shiny and it's really like appealing and it's what gets the TV time. So I do agree with the premise of this, and that if you focus more on that than the other stuff, you're missing out on what's much more important. Like Chad said, of, raising FTP and doing everything else. So, yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say because you guys nailed it. So
I think that, but actually you have a note on this one about threshold over unders being more important for training.
I do.
And I kind of like, I agree with that. And especially for crits, just because there's basically the only guarantee in crit racing is that it's not going to be, you're not going to ride at the same level of power for a long time unless you're in a solo break.
Right. And even then when you were describing, when both of you were describing the scenario under which you would want to be the kind of rider that does this solo 10-minute effort, does the long late race attack, I feel like even, especially in a crit setting, even if you are doing a 10-minute effort, the ways in which your power fluctuates because of the nature of a crit course, because you have to coast, because you have to accelerate out of corners, it's not a consistent 10-minute effort. You need to be able to go a little bit over and settle back in, and a little bit over and settle back in. And you have to be able to recover and feel okay with what that effort feels like. It doesn't look like a flat 10-minute bar, So anyone that wants to really get good at those late race flyers, you should not be training like, how hard could I possibly go consistently for 10 minutes? It should be, how many times can I dip over and then settle back in, and then dip over and settle back in?
Yep, exactly my initial point. Perfect.
Over-unders are probably everybody's like least favorite thing to do, but boy, are they productive and specific.
I mean, as a sprinter, I became better at criteriums when I started focusing on that kind of power and stopped worrying about sprinting. That's when I got my best results. You guys are totally right. That crit racing isn't just about being the best finisher or sprinter. It's all that other stuff that happens before it that makes you the most fresh for the sprint. Great. Podcast over. No, just kidding. Sorry. A couple more.
2 to go.
Yeah. 2 to go. Interesting. Hot take. Hard training weakens my immune system. More of a theory, really.
No,
I don't know if there's any...
not a theory. It's just real.
It's just real.
I guess it is a theory if you want to get down to brass tacks. It is a theory, but it's a really well substantiated, scientifically backed theory. It does hamper your immune response.
To a certain degree, it also strengthens it, right, Chad? In the sense that what you're doing as a result of being, activating an immune response within your body to be able to repair itself from training and doing that somewhat regularly.
So in the longer term, there's probably a more robust immune response, but over time, hard training does weaken, just like day-to-day racing and something like a Grand Tour. That's why these athletes get sick. That's why they come into it sick, because just training is taxing. It's just a resource hog. So if you're pulling resources to the muscles to do muscular things, then that's got to come from somewhere, no matter how well you nourish.
I like that theory that all of your matches come from the same match book. Right? There's not like a physiological one and an immune system one and a mental capacity one and an emotional capacity one. Like, we can't separate where that energy comes from, and can't be like, just because I'm training hard doesn't mean that's not the reason why I'm crying right now. All of our matches really come from the same place.
That's a good way to put it.
Super. Yeah, that's a great point. Probably gives us a lot of perspective too when we're like, like you said, I'd be like, why am I crying right now? Well,
I think that's just a me thing. But
be fair to yourself. No, but like be fair to yourself in those situations. And it's like, why is something so hard right now? You know?
I cry on the bike all the time, Ivy.
Do you really? No, you don't. Oh, dang it. All right, last hot take for today. Cyclocross is the most exciting version of cycling at the moment. Change my mind. No, I will not change your mind. I agree. I think this isn't just, this may be biased, but I think that in terms of being exciting racing to watch from a spectator standpoint, the visibility of how races play out in real time is something that's really unique to cyclocross that we can see sometimes in short track XC, sometimes in criteriums, but not really in the same way. In the way that you can stand somewhere on a cyclocross course and see, 5 different vantage points of a race and see the ways in which a race is really playing out between like really close battles in the way that you don't really get in a lot of other disciplines. Especially when, you're comparing to something like Grand Tours where there is really good visibility and broadcasting to what's happening in the race, but we're devoid of the the group letting a break go for a couple hours and being like, all right, let's bring them back now. You just get like all the action in a really short duration of time. What do you guys think?
I have kind of a sad caveat is that I don't think cyclocross is exciting enough for me unless the big 3 on the men's side is there, and we all know who those guys are, or the big 3, the 3 youngsters on the women's side. I mean, Puck Patirsa, Finn Van Empel, Sharon Van Anrooy. If they're not there, at least one of them, but preferably 2 or 3 of them, it's just not all that exciting for me. I mean, I find myself waiting for the race to be over so that I can watch it and fast forward, do a lot of fast forwarding, just clicking ahead 10, clicking ahead 10, clicking ahead 10. It's a sad truth. I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy to admit it because the racers who are that next tier down, and I hesitate to even describe them that way, but are still so freaking good and they're so fun to watch. But having watched the competitions that have developed of late between the big 3 on each side has spoiled me for the level of excitement that I used to attain from just watching regular cross races. Add to that, I just got done watching 5 days of European track championships. And for anyone who has not watched track, who doesn't have a GCN subscription, get one and watch it because it is so exciting. And this year was especially exciting. Both world championships and European championships on the track. Watch it long enough, do a little bit of Wikipedia, Google, listen to Rob Hatch so you know what's going on. And
Rob's
you will fall in love with that form, that discipline of cycling.
That's true.
Rob Hatch, best commentator. Award from...
He probably is.
He's just so great. So
him or Carl, yeah.
I do think that we're spoiled by the incredible, great athletes that we've seen recently. Chad, I think that the reason that we aren't as entertained by the rest of them is because when you have the big 3 there, everybody else is just holding on for dear life, and they're just riding like an ITT, and it's not tactical. And then when they don't show up and then they're left to race it, everyone still races that ITT just because that's what they're used to. And really the fun thing is that we have 3 riders evenly matched-ish at this top level. And we get to see them throw blows. And they're also separated enough from the field that they get to kind of play in their own sandbox. And it's really fun to watch. Criterium racing is really hard for average people to watch. Whenever I've shown a lot, people that don't understand crit racing, they're like, so why is that team, that Legion team, just riding on the front the whole race? And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. That's just is what it is. And they're like, why don't people ride around them? I don't know. They can't. It's really boring to watch. It's not exciting. And that's nothing against Legion. They're just dominant, and that's just is what it is. And in road racing with higher speeds, that group dynamic is everything. Whereas in cyclocross, it's not as much a thing. And I think that's why it's exciting. But I don't think it's the most exciting though, at all. I think the most exciting is cross-country mountain biking, and I'm totally biased in that. But I think that the big reason for that is because we have this weird blend of what we have now is if we still had somehow Sven Nys racing and winning and still looking as good as ever. And that's where he is. And then there's all these other athletes that start coming in and trying to battle him. And there's this on the men's side, we have that battle. And then on the women's side, like I genuinely have zero clue who is going to win in a given weekend. And it could be one of 9 athletes could win. And it's like fair chance and fair play to every single one of them. That's been really fun to watch for the past 2 years as that's developed. And this year, I'm really excited to see it too. So there was one question in this though, Ivy, that we didn't cover. And it said that Wout van Aert, for how wonderful he is a bit wooden in his like to watch, like not very exciting. And I know he's not as explosive as Mathieu van der Poel, but I guarantee you if we didn't have Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel would be less impressive. Like, and there's this, and same thing goes the other way too. Like that we're just enormously fortunate to be able to witness these 2 incredible athletes and like they're transcend different genres of racing and somehow race against each other with totally different styles of racing. It's just that he's less explosive perhaps than Mathieu, but he only looks less explosive because he's next to probably one of the, I don't know if it's fair to say this, but one of the most explosive cyclists to ever race. Like he's incredible the way that he races.
Yeah.
So it's just a different way.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Right.
I like Wout. Wout's great.
Yeah, I don't like the description wooden. Stoic, maybe. Just stony even, but I don't like wooden.
What an incredible athlete to cheer for too. Just the way that he wins is always really bold. Which is why I get away from the wooden side of things. He's just so cool. So
big fan. Coach John, Coach Chad, thank you so much. This was great.
It was fun.
Everyone listening, if you haven't rated us yet on wherever you listen to this podcast, make sure to do so. Like and subscribe. Give us 5 stars. Let us know what you want to hear more of. And if you haven't tried TrainerRoad yet, make sure to do it. Have your best year yet. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
See you.